When it comes to travel, even the best laid plans often get changed, and usually not by you. And yet only a third of you ever think to buy travel insurance. You get sick, you get in an accident, you get mugged on the road. So what do you need to know before you ever leave home? There are 4 types of travel insurance out there, and 2 primary reasons to purchase it: to protect your upfront financial investment and to insure yourself against emergencies and other what-ifs. The most basic type of travel insurance is flight insurance. That only kicks in if you're killed or injured on a specific commercial flight. Now, would you purchase insurance for a single car ride? Of course you wouldn't, so don't bother with this one either. Then there's trip cancellation and interruption insurance. This is the most common type that's out there, more than 94% of all total travel insurance sales. It typically runs about 4 to 20% of your total trip costs. And it's the kind of coverage that protects your out-of-pocket expenses if your flight is delayed, or if your bags are lost, or if you get sick and can't go on the trip. Like Bill Mitchell, who booked a 10-day Baltic cruise with Holland America.
My wife had booked a cortisone shot with the doctor because she had bursitis in both hips. I get a call from the daughter, and she says, "You better go home and take a look at Mom. Something's wrong." So we rushed her over to the hospital, and her blood pressure had shot to over 240, and they basically put her into emergency treatment right away. And come to find out, it ended up being she was adversely sensitive to cortisone. I called the travel agent, and I said, "We got an emergency on our hands. Cancel everything. We can't go." The travel agent turned around and said, "Holland America refuses to grant any voucher." They said, "You did not buy travel insurance. It was your choice. Too bad. We've got your money. So sad. Bye."
To add insult to injury, Holland America then resold the Mitchell's cabin to another couple, meaning the cruise line collected 2 fees. Had Mitchell purchased basic trip interruption and cancellation policy insurance, those costs would have been covered. Most cruise lines will try to sell you an insurance policy when you book your cruise, but that's not the policy you want. First, the language isn't always beneficial to you, and second, if the cruise line goes belly up, so does your insurance. So always buy your insurance from a third party and make sure that the bankruptcy of your cruise line is listed as a covered benefit. Those kinds of caveats exist in every policy, so reading the fine print is crucial. Acts of God, terrorism, and civil unrest are often excluded from coverage. On some policies, a rained-out vacation isn't enough to merit coverage unless the airport and hotels are closed. Hit by a hurricane? A policy won't cover you if you purchase it after the storm has been officially named by the National Hurricane Center. Then there's the kind of coverage that no one ever thinks they'll need, but they're eternally grateful when they do. I'm talking about medical coverage. Margaret Magnus thought a camel ride would be the highlight of her trip in Morocco. Instead, it turned into a disaster in the desert.
We're second day into the 3 days of out in the Sahara, and I chose to ride on the camel. I was kind of fiddling around with the scarf because the wind had come up and not paying attention, and the camel did a quick sidestep, and I fell off into hard-packed sand.
Margaret had fractured her pelvis and was in need of immediate medical care. But she was in the Sahara Desert, just about as far away from a Western medical hospital as you could imagine. First, she was driven to the oasis town of Arfoud in southern Morocco. But she needed to be medevaced to the nearest hospital, which was 1,700 miles away in France. Then she discovered there was no airport where she was, and the only way out was to negotiate the use of a private landing strip belonging to an Arab emir. By the end of a long saga, the bill was astronomical.
If you had the same level of care and had to pay the full price for your trip, it would probably have been about $55,000 out of pocket.
The only good news, their comprehensive insurance carrier pretty much covered them for everything.
You never know what can happen, and this allows somebody else to take over the logistics so that you have the costs covered and you have the care arranged for.
Then there's the prospect of being dumped at the nearest hospital, rather than going to the medical facility and doctor of your choice. Well, there's something that covers that as well. Membership in a program that will fly you from wherever you are back to that hospital of your choice, not the insurance companies. Does it sound over the top? Not really. Take the case of Dr. Larry Stern from St. Paul, Minnesota. He went on a once-in-a-lifetime motorcycle trip through the foothills of the Himalayas.
And we're on a road traveling from west to east. And I was behind the leader. and as I rounded the curve, there was a truck right in front of me. And what I did was I applied the brakes very hard in the middle of a turn, and the bike went down hard, and I knew I had broken ribs, and I knew I had broken my clavicle or collarbone as well.
Stern was first treated at a local hospital in Bhutan, but luckily for him, he had one of these, an annual subscription to a company called MedJet. And they transport you to a hospital of your choice, unlike many insurers who are more concerned about their bottom line than your broken bones. Travel insurance policies are intentionally confusing and loaded with fine print. That's why it's so crucial to ask the right questions before ever paying for anything. Never assume medical and dental coverage are part of the package. You gotta ask. If there's rental car coverage, ask if it's primary or secondary to your existing policy. Do you have a pre-existing condition? You better ask that one, and if you do, better ask if there's a waiver. Are job loss, jury duty, or work-related reasons covered? Planning any adventure sports like mountain climbing or snowboarding? You may need an additional policy. Here's the bottom line. The actual information is out there. You just need to do some thorough research and read the language carefully. Once you do that, you're good to go. In the world of nickel and diming, one of the